Hi, my name is Nancy Braun, and in this screencast, I'll show you some resources for finding out about flipped learning. Let's get started. Erin Sams is a high school teacher in Colorado who is credited with being a pioneer in flipped learning or the flipped classroom. Let's watch what he has to say about it.
I'm Erin Sams. We're here in Woodland Park, Colorado at Woodland Park High School. Flipped learning, I think, on a really basic level, is taking what has traditionally been given in a lecture in terms of direct instruction and shifting that out of the class time, and then using that recuperated time more wisely, more valuably to really meet the individual learning needs of students. The way
I'm going to pause his 3-minute video there because you can view the rest of it on your own. You'll notice that the animation and are pretty sophisticated and an indication that this is a professionally made video. The next resource I'll show you is actually made by a classroom teacher in a middle school. And again, it's a 3-minute video, but I've got it queued up to a middle portion where she talks about how she, what student learning looks like at home, as well as how it feeds into the next day's lesson. Let's watch. So that's an example of a middle school teacher and how she's structuring her flipped learning for students. And we've also looked at a high school example. This is an example of an elementary school teacher who's figured out a way to get the benefits of flipped learning for her students even when they may not have universal access to internet computing at home.
And she lets us use the iPods and computers. It's really fun, and she's nice and awesome.
I am Tracy Gillis. I'm a 4th grade teacher at Gulf Highlands Elementary School. I do what I call a faux flipped math classroom, where the students are watching lessons on the computer before they ever come see me. The true model of flipped classroom is the students would watch a lesson at home on their computer, and then they would come into class with questions. So they've learned all the instruction before they ever come into class. My students don't typically have computers or internet at home, so they watch the lessons here at school. They love it. Typically I've seen that my higher students and my lower students are the one that benefit the most, because the higher students can watch the lesson and understand it right away and never even have to come see me to ask questions, and the lower students will watch the same video over and over again until they understand it.
It's different from my old school because we use computers for math, because at my old school, the teacher used to teach it on a whiteboard, and it gets a little boring, but...
So these short videos are a great introduction. If you'd like to go more in depth with the theories behind flipped learning and how it gets started, I recommend this podcast on a program called Radio Times, which is I originally heard on National Public Radio. The host, Marty Moscowane, interviews professors and fellows from Harvard and University of Wisconsin-Madison. It's a 52-minute podcast, and the host does a great job interviewing the guests in such a way that it really illuminates the subject. It's easy to listen to a podcast. You would go to the web address and just hit play. If a visual format would help you learn more about flipped learning, have a look at this graphic animation. This is a 1-minute video produced by the University of Texas Center for Teaching and Learning. What is the flipped classroom? And following the animation is a graph, a chart. What's different about the flipped class, where we can see a comparison between a traditional classroom approach versus a flipped classroom, both in terms of how they use technology, but also in terms of how time is utilized by students and by instructors. And you'll see listed here in the left column the various touch points or time resources that are part of the educational process. There's some great additional resources listed at the end as well. If you'd like to read to get into this topic, an academic article by Cynthia Brame at Vanderbilt University's Center for Teaching is a good one. Flipping the Classroom is a good one because it looks at the flipped classroom or flipped learning in terms of something called Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy is a hierarchical structure ordering the lowest levels of cognition to the highest, and it's relevant to teachers addressing the new Common Core learning standards because those standards have shifted the emphasis higher on this taxonomical structure toward the higher order thinking skills. This is a great little 2-minute animation, I believe also made by teachers, that gives an overview of Bloom's taxonomy, and I've queued it up to this middle portion where we see a list of activities that could be associated with each of the levels in the taxonomy. Back to that article by Brame, in terms of Bloom's revised taxonomy, this means that students are doing the lower levels of cognitive work, gaining knowledge and comprehension outside of class, focusing on the higher forms of cognitive work, application, analysis, synthesis, and/or evaluation in class, where they have the support of their peers and instructor. That sort of captures the ideas behind the flipped learning model in a nutshell. I hope this has been useful to you. Here are the references, all of the links to the websites, the podcast, and the articles can be found here. I'd be happy to send it to you if you're interested in following up by watching them, experiencing them, viewing them, reading them, whatever your strong suit as a learner is. Good luck and happy learning.